A boy last week who was 16 in San Francisco told me on television. Thank God we got him to talk. Maybe somebody will start to listen. He said, I got no country, I've got no flag. Now he's only 16 years old. And I couldn't say you do. I don't have any evidence to prove that he does. They were tearing down his house because San Francisco is engaging, as most northern cities now are engaged, in something called urban renewal, which means moving the Negroes out. It means Negro removal. That is what it means. And the federal government is an accomplice to this fact.
We were forced to reside on the side of the street that was less desired, under the belief that we would be unable to forge a successful empire, and so we stood in the fire. Amidst the rubble and the decay, knew that if we crossed the street it would mean trouble, and so we stayed and we made this our home, the ghetto, where we settled, redlined into city blocks, still incarcerated. Here, they meddled and manipulated our chances for survival, but our concentrated blackness birthed circumstances for revival, for renaissance. And in response, we cultivated a culture hated by those who deemed us uneducated, emancipated ourselves through music, art, and poetry, orchestrated so beautifully that Apollo himself couldn't deny it. We celebrated our defiance, our unwillingness to be compliant. We understood that if we sought liberation, it meant we could no longer remain silent. We poured rivers worth of liquor as libation for the ones we lost to violence. We baptized black and brown children for salvation in the waters of open fire hydrants. We made this our home. And as though by God's hand we had been stitched and sewn, this tattered brick and stone shaped the makeup of our bones. It became the only place most of us had ever truly known. But I guess you must have been dissatisfied with your own. Your beautiful home magnified by white picket fences. You pulled up in our hoods and were told, well, you're white, picket, rent it. Well, you're white, pick it, buy it. Black culture is for sale, and for a price, you can try it. As if our lifestyle was an experiment. Something for you to experience. That our lives will be made richer when you oppose upon us your influence. Put into political context, this echoes historical conquest. The rich and the privileged will always want more. Defined as a sign of progress. This isn't a brand new concept. We've seen this shit before. Gentrification. Or should I say modern day segregation? The unspoken expectation, pick a location where black folk make up most of the population and do whatever necessary to force them into migration. Examples of this transformation. Pave over the basketball courts and replace them with dog parks. Shut down historic jazz clubs and demolish beloved landmarks. Literally whitewash our street art and criminalize it as vandalism. Tear down affordable housing complexes and replace them with condominiums. Build a Starbucks on the same block as a mom and pop coffee shop. Rip out our soul food and replace it with a Whole Foods, although we never had access to organic crops. Get rid of those bodega cats and make more room for yoga mats. And you neighbors who claim they can't be racist because they voted Democrat. It's a bullshit excuse that I hear all too often, as if when you see us on the block, you don't approach us with caution. So you demand for an increase in police presence to remind us that if we don't heed the eviction notice, we can always leave in a coffin. See, you equate our exile with safer streets, a glaring reflection of your own conceit. You think our hood belongs under your feet, but y'all just don't understand. These streets will never be yours no matter how much you contort our culture or try to imitate its essence. No matter how much you pick at its corpse like a vulture, these streets will always negate your presence. How dare you demand a seat at our table when we haven't even had our fill? Are you even able to comprehend how many of us have been killed? Can you even begin to fathom the storms that swept through these avenues and refused to allow them to be still? You still haven't waded in these waters long enough to make waves. You fail to recognize you are tucking your children into bed over someone else's graves. If your babies knew that truth, would it scar them? Tell me. What you know about Harlem? What you know about Brooklyn? What you know about the Bronx? Fuck you mean Soha, New Williamsburg, and the Piano District. These streets won't ever forget the black hands that built it, the brown bodies that bled into this concrete and wilted. Why do you want something you ain't bleed for? Something you have no need for. Claiming the fruits of a labor that you ain't even plant the seeds for. I will not ask for permission to walk down my own block. And I will not politely knock on doors that I already own the keys to just to appease you. These streets were built on the backs of God's black children who wanted to attain something higher. And so I stand in the fire. And I will sacrifice myself to the flames if I need to.